Okay, I want you to just close your eyes for a second. Picture this. You're standing on a beach on the coast of Mexico. It's the year 1519.
Hmm.
The air is humid, it's thick. You can probably smell the salt and, the jungle. And you're watching one of the strangest and, frankly, one of the most important meetings in human history.
It's really the closest we've ever gotten to a first contact scenario, like a real alien encounter.
Totally.
You have two human worlds that have been completely isolated for millennia,
Yeah.
suddenly colliding. On one side, you've got the Aztecs.
And on the other, you've got Hernan Cortés and his Spanish conquistadors right off the boat from a completely different planet, basically.
And the level of confusion is just immense. They don't have a shared language, no shared gods. Their technology is worlds apart.
Everything is different, but there was this one thing, this one specific material that seemed to need no translation at all.
Gold.
Gold, specifically the Spanish obsession with it. And this is where the story, for me, gets really fascinating, because the Aztecs, well, they just didn't get it.
They were baffled. I mean, they knew what gold was. They used it. They thought it was beautiful, sure.
But the mania.
The mania made no sense to them. To the Aztecs, gold was, decorative. They actually called it the excrement of the gods.
Wow.
Yeah. It's pretty, but it's fundamentally useless. It's too soft to make a sword or a spearhead. If you hit someone with a gold sword, it's just going to bend.
Right. You can't eat it. You can't drink it. You can't grow crops with it. In an Aztec market, you weren't using gold dust to buy your dinner.
No, you were using cocoa beans or maybe bolts of cloth. Things with an actual practical use.
So they see these bearded Spanish soldiers just losing their minds over this soft yellow stuff. And eventually they ask Cortés, "What is wrong with you people? Why do you need so much of this?"
And Cortés gives this incredible answer. It's a line that I think just sets the stage for everything we're going to talk about today. He says, "Because I and my companions suffer from a disease of the heart, which can be cured only with gold."
A disease of the heart. That's such a heavy line. It's almost poetic for a conquistador.
It is. But here's the thing. That disease, it wasn't just a Spanish problem. It wasn't some weird European quirk. It's a global condition. And today, we're going to figure out why.
Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're unpacking a whole stack of research on the evolutionary history of money. But we're not talking about, stock markets or interest rates.
No, we're going much, much deeper. This is a psychological investigation.
We want to understand the most universal, the most efficient, and honestly the most bizarre system of mutual trust that humans have ever invented.
And trust is absolutely the key word. We tend to think of money as the physical thing, the coin, the banknote.
The thing in your wallet.
Right. But the core idea in this research is that money isn't a thing at all. It's a story. It's a shared delusion that allows millions, even billions of complete strangers to cooperate.
Which is such a wild concept to really wrap your head around. So our mission today is to trace that delusion back to its roots. We're going to go from that beach in Mexico all the way back to the barley fields of ancient Sumer.
Through the prisoner of war camps of World War II, and right up to the computer servers that hold our life savings today.
We are going to figure out how a shared belief in fundamentally useless items conquered the entire world.
It's a heck of a story. Let's get into it.
Okay, so to understand why we even need money, why we developed this disease, the sources all say we have to first look at what life was like before it. So let's rewind the clock, say 30,000 years. I'm a hunter-gatherer. How does my economy work?
Well, there isn't really an economy in the sense we'd recognize. You're living in a small, tight-knit band of people, maybe 50, 100 at most.
Everybody knows everybody.
Intimately. You know who's a good hunter, you know who's lazy, you know who's good at healing. So the entire system runs on what the research calls an economy of favors and obligations.
A mental ledger. I scratch your back, you scratch mine.
Literally, yeah. If you go out and hunt a deer and you give me a piece of the meat, I don't pay you for it. There's no transaction.
Yeah.
But I owe you one.
The group remembers.
The group remembers. There's a social debt. So maybe next month, when your kid gets sick, I'm the one who sits up all night gathering herbs. It's all based on reputation and long-term relationships.
Which actually sounds kind of nice. It's very communal, very organic.
It is. It works beautifully as long as the group stays small. But then humanity hits the agricultural revolution.
And everything changes.
Everything. Villages become towns, towns become cities. Suddenly you're not in a band of 50 people you've known your whole life. You're in a city with 10,000 strangers.
And that's when specialization really kicks into gear, right?
Exactly. We have farming, which means we have a food surplus. So not everybody needs to be a farmer anymore. Now you can have a person who just makes shoes, a full-time shoemaker,
Hmm.
or a doctor,
Hmm.
or a priest. But this creates a huge problem. You can't run an economy of favors with strangers.
Right. I'm the shoemaker. I can't just hand out boots to every person who walks in, hoping that maybe 5 years from now he'll, I don't know, help me fix my roof. My brain can't keep track of that many favors. I don't know these people.
The cognitive load is too high. You can't track the reputation of 10,000 different people. So the next logical step, the first attempt to solve this, is barter.
Simple trade. I have shoes, you have apples, let's make a deal.
It seems so simple and logical.
Yeah.
But when you actually try to build a complex society on it, it falls apart. The source material uses this great thought experiment, the apple shoemaker dilemma.
Okay, let's walk through it.
So you're an apple grower.
Huh.
You get the best apples in the city. But your boots are falling apart, they've got holes in them. You need a new pair. So you load up a cart with your best apples, and you go down to the market to find the shoemaker.
Makes sense so far.
You find his shop, you go in and you say, I'll give you 3 big baskets of my finest apples for that pair of boots right there.
And the shoemaker looks at me and says, I don't like apples.
Or maybe he says, I love apples, but my own orchard is full of them. I've got more apples than I know what to do with.
Yeah.
What I really need right now is a divorce lawyer.
Ah. Okay, so now I, the apple farmer, I'm stuck. I can't get my boots.
You're completely stuck. Now, to get those boots, you have to go find a lawyer in the city who happens to be hungry for apples. You have to somehow trade your apples for legal services.
And then run back to the shoemaker and trade the legal services for the boots.
And you'd better hope the shoemaker haven't found another customer in the meantime. This is what economists call the coincidence of wants problem.
Coincidence of wants.
For a barter trade to work, you both have to want exactly what the other person has at the exact same time. And it gets even worse when you start thinking about the prices.
Oh, right. Even if I find that lawyer, how many apples is a divorce worth?
And how many apples for a pair of boots? Are we talking Red Delicious or Granny Smith? The math on this, it's actually staggering. The sources laid out these numbers that, they just floored me.
This was the part that was exponential. Right?
It's insane. If you have a market with just 100 different items, so shoes, corn, pottery, chickens, whatever, a buyer and seller would need to know 4,950 different exchange rates.
Wait. Nearly 5,000 exchange rates. For a small market with only 100 things.
Yes. You need to know the price of a chicken in terms of pottery,
Right.
and in terms of shoes, and in terms of corn, for everything. And if you scale that up to just a modest city economy with, say, 1,000 different commodities,
Oh, no.
the number of exchange rates you need to track jumps to 499,500.
500,000 prices just to go to the market.
It is computationally impossible for the human brain. And this is why centralized barter systems, like the ones the Soviet Union tried to set up, failed so miserably. You can't calculate the relative value of everything against everything else in real time.
So humanity basically hit a wall. We had all these goods, all this specialization, but no efficient way to connect it all.
We needed a connector. We needed a universal translator for value. We needed a mental revolution. We needed money.
Okay, but this is where the definition gets really slippery. Because when I think money, my brain immediately goes to a physical thing, a coin, a dollar bill. But the reading really hammers this point home. Money is not the object.
No. And this is the hardest but most important concept to get. Money isn't a material reality. It's a psychological construct. The source material calls it an intersubjective reality.
Intersubjective, meaning it only exists in our shared imagination.
Precisely. Money is anything, and I mean literally anything, that people are willing to use to represent the value of other things for the purpose of exchange. It solves that apple shoemaker problem instantly. The shoemaker doesn't have to want your apples.
He just has to want the money.
He just has to want the money because he trusts that the lawyer will take the money and the baker will take the money and so on. He believes in it because he believes everyone else believes in it.
So it's a bridge between everyone's individual desires.
And it performs 3 critical functions that make complex societies possible. The first one is exchange. It's the universal converter. It's like economic alchemy.
Give me an example of that conversion.
Okay, think about it. You can convert physical strength into, say, knowledge. A soldier joins the army, he marches, he fights, he's using his brawn, his physical body. In return, he gets paid. He's converting muscle and risk into coins.
Okay.
Then he takes those same coins and pays a university to teach his son philosophy.
Wow. So he's transmuted violence into wisdom.
He has. Or The notes had an even more striking example from the medieval church. In the 15th century, you had prostitutes converting sex into gold coins. And then they'd take that exact same gold to the church to buy indulgences.
Which were basically get-out-of-hell-free cards. Forgiveness for sins.
Exactly. So they were converting sin into salvation.
Yeah.
The money is the medium that allows that. It doesn't judge. It just carries the value.
That is a wild way of looking at it. What are the other two functions?
Second one is storage. Let's go back to our poor apple farmer. His wealth is in apples. Apples rot. If you have a great harvest, you're rich for a few weeks and then you're bankrupt. Nature destroys your wealth.
Right. You can't put your retirement fund in strawberries.
But money doesn't rot. You can sell your apples today, convert that labor into a coin or a number in a bank, and store that value for 50 years. It lets you freeze economic time.
And the third function?
Transport. Imagine a rich farmer in ancient China. His wealth is his giant estate. The house, the rice paddies, the barns, it's all immobile.
You can't pack a rice paddy in your suitcase.
No. But you can sell it all, convert it into a small bag of silver, and carry that wealth with you to another province. It makes value portable.
You said earlier that money can be anything. And the source material had this incredibly dark but powerful example from the 20th century that really proves that point.
Ah, yes.
Yeah.
The cigarette currency.
This was in the POW camps and concentration camps in World War II.
Right. And this is maybe the clearest proof you'll ever find that money is purely psychological. In places like Auschwitz or in Allied POW camps, the official government money, or German Reichsmarks or whatever, was totally worthless. Nobody wanted it.
So the prisoners just created their own money.
Spontaneously. And what they settled on was cigarettes.
But that's the thing that always got me. What if you didn't smoke? Why would you accept cigarettes?
And that is the grim beauty of it. Economically speaking, it didn't matter if you smoked. The non-smokers were the biggest traders of cigarettes.
Why?
Because they knew that someone else would want them.
Yeah.
They became a trusted, standardized unit of value. The camps even had price lists.
Like a menu at a restaurant.
Pretty much. A loaf of bread would cost you 12 cigarettes. A watch might go for 80 or up to 200 cigarettes. A liter of booze, that'd be 400 cigarettes.
That's incredible. It just proves you don't need a government, you don't need a central bank, you just need a community that agrees on a standard of value.
And that's exactly where we are today, just on a much larger scale.
Right.
We think our money is real because it's got the government stamp on it, but physically, it barely exists.
What do you mean?
The numbers from 2006 were that the total amount of money in the world was around $60 trillion. But the amount of actual physical coins and banknotes, less than 6 trillion.
So you're saying more than 90% of all our money is just numbers on a computer?
It's just electronic data. It's magnetic pulses on a server farm somewhere. It's a ghost. But it's a ghost we all believe in. And honestly, it's better than physical cash. It's weightless. It's instant. It's trackable. But it only works because we share the delusion.
And that delusion, that trust, it didn't just appear out of nowhere. We didn't leap from a favor economy to digital currency. The source material lays out this fascinating evolution of what we chose to trust.
Right, we had to build up that trust muscle over thousands of years. The very first step was money with intrinsic value.
Something you could actually use for something else.
Exactly. Let's go back to ancient Sumer, around 3000 BC. This is happening at the same time writing is being invented, which is no coincidence. The first money we know of was barley.
So I'd literally get paid in my breakfast cereal.
Essentially, yeah. They had a standard measure, a bowl called a sila, which held about a liter of grain. A basic laborer might earn 60 silas a month. A foreman could earn 5,000.
So why start with barley? Why not shells or something?
Because it requires almost no trust. It's low risk. If the whole system collapses tomorrow, if the king dies, if nobody wants to trade with me anymore, well, I can just eat my savings.
It has a biological value, a safety net.
Right. But it has huge downsides. It's heavy. It's bulky to transport.
And rats.
Rats eat your life savings. Or it gets moldy. Or your barn burns down and your wealth goes up in smoke. It's terrible for long-term storage. So humanity needed to upgrade. We moved to step 2, money with cultural value. We moved to precious metals.
And this is where the silver shekel comes in.
Yes. Now, when most people hear shekel, they picture a coin. But in ancient Mesopotamia, in the Code of Hammurabi, a shekel was not a coin. It was a unit of weight. Specifically, 8.33 grams of silver.
So when the Bible says Joseph was sold by his brothers for 20 silver shekels.
It doesn't mean they were handed 20 shiny coins. It means they got out a set of scales and weighed out 166 grams of random bits of silver. Maybe scrap jewelry or rings or little ingots.
And here's the crucial leap, right? Silver, unlike barley, is pretty much useless. You can't eat it. It's too soft for tools.
And that is the mental breakthrough. We, as a species, decided to value something purely because it was shiny, it was rare, and it didn't rust. You could bury it for a century and it would still be there. But there was still a big problem, a point of friction.
You had to weigh it every single time.
Every single time. And you had to trust that the person you were trading with wasn't cheating you on the scales.
Or that the silver was even pure. You could mix it with lead or something.
Exactly. So every transaction was slow and full of suspicion. It was a drag on the whole economy. We needed a way to guarantee the value instantly without all that hassle. Which brings us to the Kingdom of Lydia in what's now Turkey around 640 BC.
The invention of the coin.
The king named Alyattes had this genius, world-changing idea. He took a standardized lump of electrum that's a mix of gold and silver, and he stamped it with an official mark, a lion's head.
And that little stamp changed everything. Why was it so revolutionary?
Because that stamp made two promises. It provided two guarantees that made the scales obsolete. First, it guaranteed the weight. The king's mark was a certification saying, I, the king, promise this lump of metal weighs exactly what it's supposed to.
So you don't need to weigh it anymore. You just count the coins.
You just count them. And second, it guaranteed the authority or the purity. The king was staking his personal reputation on the quality of the metal.
So my trust shifts. I don't have to trust you, the random merchant I just met.
No.
I just have to trust the king.
Exactly. It moves trust from the individual to the institution. And this, by the way, is why counterfeiting was treated so brutally for most of history.
I was reading about that. We think of counterfeiting as a financial crime, like fraud. But back then it was treason. They would boil you in oil for it.
Because it wasn't just theft. It was lese majesty. You were forging the king's signature. You were undermining the king's sovereignty. If people stop believing in the stamp, the entire economic system collapses. The state had to protect the brand of its money with absolute terror.
And that brand, that trust in the stamp, it became so powerful it started crossing borders. The source brings up the Roman denarius.
The denarius was basically the US dollar of the ancient world. It was the reserve currency. Archaeologists find hordes of Roman denarii in India, thousands of miles from the nearest Roman soldier.
And the merchants in India would just accept them.
They'd accept them, even though they had no loyalty to the Roman emperor. Why? Because they trusted the integrity of the Roman brand more than they trusted their own local kings. The emperor's face on that coin was a guarantee of quality that everyone understood.
They trusted the logo.
They did. It got to the point where local rulers in other kingdoms started minting their own coins that were direct copies of the denarius, sometimes even with the Roman emperor's face on them, just to get their own people to trust the money.
That is incredible branding. And the name itself has lasted, right? The dinar in Jordan, Iraq, Serbia.
It's the ghost of the denarius.
Yeah.
The legacy of that trust is still rattling around in our pockets today.
Which brings us to what I think is maybe the most counterintuitive and fascinating part of this whole story. The idea that money isn't just a tool for commerce, but it can be a tool for, well, for tolerance.
The gospel of gold, as the source calls it.
It sounds so wrong, doesn't it? We're always taught that money is the root of all evil, that people fight wars over resources. But the argument here is that money can actually bridge divides that nothing else can.
It's a true paradox. Think about something like religion or law or language. Those things tend to create in-groups and out-groups.
Us versus them.
Right. If I'm a medieval Christian and you're a Muslim, our core beliefs are in conflict. Our gods are in conflict. We are, by definition, on opposite sides. But money asks for a different kind of belief. It doesn't ask you to believe in my God. It just asks you to believe that other people will accept this coin.
The story about the Miller's coin from the readings, I honestly had to read that twice. It just seems impossible.
It's one of the most incredible historical anecdotes I've ever come across. So you have to picture the scene. It's the era of the Crusades and the Reconquista in Spain. Christians and Muslims are engaged in brutal, existential, holy war.
Total war. Burning cities, slaughtering civilians.
The hatred is absolute, but business is business. And the Christian kings who reconquer parts of Spain run into a problem. Nobody trusts their currency. The established, respected, trusted currency of the Mediterranean trade routes is the Muslim dinar.
So what do? Do they just force people to use Christian coins at sword point?
No. They can't. The market is too powerful. So they do something incredible. They swallow their religious pride, and they start minting their own coins that are exact copies of the Muslim coins. They're called millers.
And they kept the Arabic script on them?
They didn't just keep it. The Arabic script on these coins, which were being issued by Catholic bishops.
Wait, bishops?
Catholic bishops. The coins that they were issuing had inscribed in beautiful Arabic calligraphy the Muslim declaration of faith. There is no God except Allah, and Muhammad is Allah's messenger.
You have got to be kidding me. Catholic bishops, in the middle of a crusade against Islam, are minting coins that praise Allah.
Yes, because the market demanded it. The theology was less important than the trust in the brand. If you wanted your money to be accepted, use the logo everyone trusted. And it went both ways. Muslim merchants in North Africa were perfectly happy to use Venetian coins with Jesus and the Virgin Mary on them.
It's cynical, but it's also weirdly hopeful.
Yeah.
It suggests our shared economic interest can sometimes be stronger than our deepest hatreds.
Money is the most open-minded system ever created. It is the only system of trust that doesn't discriminate. It doesn't care what you believe, who you love, what your skin color is. It asks only one question: do you have the coin? If the answer is yes, we can do business.
But that raises the big question. How did we all agree on which coin? Why did the whole world eventually converge on gold and silver? Why didn't the Chinese just stick with silk money or the Indians with cowrie shells? How did this one idea, the value of gold, take over the planet?
It's down to a simple but powerful market mechanism called arbitrage. You can think of it like a kind of economic gravity that pulls all the prices into alignment. It's how the belief in gold spread like a virus.
Okay, so break that down for us. How does arbitrage work?
Imagine, for a moment, two separate economic zones that don't talk to each other. In Zone A, let's say the Mediterranean, gold is the ultimate symbol of wealth. It's very expensive.
Okay.
But in Zone B, let's say India, they don't care about gold. They value cowrie shells or something else. So because nobody there wants it, gold is really, really cheap.
So high price in the Med, low price in India.
Now, a clever merchant discovers this.
Okay.
He sees the price gap. What does he do? He goes to India and buys up all the cheap gold he can find. He fills his ships with it, sails to the Mediterranean, and sells it for a massive profit.
Classic buy low, sell high.
Right. But think about the effect that has on both markets. Because he and all the other merchants who copy him are suddenly buying tons of gold in India, the demand for gold there skyrockets. So the price of gold in India starts to rise. Meanwhile, they're all dumping all this new gold onto the Mediterranean market, which increases the supply there, so the price in the Med starts to fall.
Ah, I see. They start to move toward each other.
Exactly. The prices begin to equalize across the globe. The simple fact that the Mediterranean world believed in gold forced the Indian world to start believing in gold too, because it became a valuable export commodity for them. It created a single, unified monetary zone.
So it's a contagion of belief spread by profit.
And once that network effect gets going, it's almost impossible to stop. It's why when the Spanish plundered gold from the Americas, they could take that gold to Europe, and then European merchants could take that same gold to China to buy silk. The Chinese didn't need anything from Europe, but they'd take the gold.
Because they knew everyone else on the planet valued it?
Exactly. It had become the universal language.
This all sounds like a fantastic success story. Money breaks down barriers, it creates trust, it enables global trade, it builds complex civilizations. But I'm sensing there's a catch.
There is always a catch, and the sources call it the price of money.
We talk about those two core principles, universal convertibility and universal trust.
Right. Convertibility says anything can be turned into money. Trust says, I can use that money to cooperate with any stranger. But when you put those two powerful ideas together, you get a kind of acid that starts to eat away at the fabric of traditional human societies.
Because some things were never supposed to be converted into money.
Precisely. In that old hunter-gatherer band, or even in a small village, some things were held to be priceless. Honor, loyalty, family, morality, your ancestral land. These things existed outside the logic of the market. You don't sell your children. You don't sell your allegiance.
But money is like water. It always finds a way in.
It seeps into the cracks. Because if the principle is that anything can be converted into gold, then eventually everything gets a price tag. And we see this throughout history. Desperate parents selling their children into slavery to buy food. Knights selling their swords and their loyalty to the highest bidder. Communities selling their sacred forests to foreign corporations.
It transforms the entire world into one giant cold marketplace. And the really scary part goes back to what you said earlier about trust.
That's the deepest psychological shift. In the old world, my trust was in you, my neighbor. I trusted your character. I knew your family. In the modern money-based world, I don't need to trust you at all. I just need to trust the coin in your hand.
And that means I can treat you like an ATM.
Exactly. And the moment you run out of coins, my trust in you evaporates. You cease to be useful to me. It creates this incredibly efficient, but also incredibly heartless web of connections between people. We are all connected, but the connections are based on impersonal interest, not on genuine human bonds.
So all of human society becomes this constant struggle. On one side, we're trying to tear down barriers to make trade easier, and on the other, we're desperately trying to build dams to protect the things we hold sacred.
That's a perfect metaphor for it. We build these dams. We cast laws against selling people. We create religious taboos against selling sacred relics. We have environmental protections. We are constantly drawing lines in the sand and saying to the market, okay, your logic can apply to wheat in shoes, but it cannot apply to human dignity. It cannot apply to this river.
But the tide of the market is always pushing against those dams.
Always. It's always looking for a leak.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, where does this leave us? We've gone from Cortés and his strange disease of the heart to a global civilization where 90% of our wealth is just imaginary data, and we trust that data more than we trust our own neighbors.
I think the biggest takeaway is to just stand in awe of how powerful but also how fragile this shared story is. We are the only species on Earth that can cooperate flexibly in groups of millions. The reason we can do it is because we all believe in this fiction we've created. It's an absolute triumph of the human imagination.
But the sources end on a pretty serious warning. We shouldn't get too complacent about the power of money. There's this final thought about gold versus steel.
Right. It's a vital reality check. It's a warning against thinking that the market always wins, that economics explains everything. We have this modern bias that if two countries just trade enough, they'll never go to war.
But history would disagree. Strongly.
History laughs at that idea. The market can only function in a context of peace and political order. But brutal warriors, religious fanatics, ideologues with a different value system, people who value power or God or glory more than they value gold, can smash that marketplace to pieces in an afternoon.
Gold is powerful, but steel is harder.
That's it exactly. To understand human history, you absolutely have to follow the gold. You have to understand the economic forces. But you can never, ever ignore the steel, the role of organized violence. If the people with the steel decide to break the system, all the gold in the world becomes worthless overnight. Just ask the Aztecs. They had all the gold they could want, but Cortés had the steel.
A sobering thought to end on. So the next time you, the listener, open your wallet and pull out a dollar bill or a 10-pound note, don't just see it as paper. Look at it for what it truly is.
It's a treaty. It's a thin, fragile piece of paper signed by billions of complete strangers, all agreeing to trust one another, all woven together in a vast imaginary web that, for now, holds our world together.
And let's all hope we can keep that trust intact. Thanks for listening to this deep dive.
Until next time.